Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Big Apple Hockey, where we have got a stuffed show today with a precursor with training camp starting next week. God, thank God hockey is coming back, because as all of us baseball fans know, it has not been a good year for New York. I, of course, am your host, the hard-worked Marc Williams, and joined by the man who will be bringing back the final buzzer soon, Mr. John Volkowski.
Summer needs to go away. That's all I have to say.
It does, and it is just not letting us go away in any way. I just, what is it today? Is it like 110 degrees today, Phil?
It's like 90 something.
And it's just, please, just you know what? I just want a good day to go golfing tomorrow. That's all I want. And in a moment, I'm going to be introducing Anthony, as we're going to be buying some more time, as he's just coming right on. Just I mean, a week away from training camp, Phil, and I didn't think there was going to be much news to report today, and then, bam, like two big stories that just hit us right now.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, that's where we're going to be going to the A block in a moment. Make sure, by the way, everybody, I haven't done this enough to whore ourselves out. Make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the bell for us on YouTube, or just smash that heart button in the bottom, because we could always use the support. I still don't know how videos with 2 likes get 2,000 views, but whatever. We'll work our way up there. But I'm actually just going to go ahead with the A block, Philk. Mm-hmm. So we're going to start with the A block today. So we got a lot of stuff. We're going to be doing another Take Your Pick segment. But got to tell you, Philk, a little bit of a shocker today. The Athletic put out their rankings for NHL front offices. They ranked the Rangers at 26th and the Islanders at 32. This is based upon polls of the fan bases. This isn't the Athletics' opinion. This is just polling the fan bases. But Philk, does the Athletic article get it right here?
I don't know if it can really get it right. You're basing fan bases on their confidence. I don't know. I would put the Rangers middle of the pack. I wouldn't put them towards the bottom. I wouldn't put them at the top either. I mean, Chris Drury's done an okay job, but I mean, there's still definitely, it still leaves to be a lot to be desired. But again, we've gone over this kind of ad nauseum, but Jeff Gorton really left him with a mess. He gave him some bad contracts in the likes of Jacob Trouba. Chris Kreider's contract was questionable at the time, considering his age and the direction that the team seemed to want it to go in. I mean, Artemi Panarin was brought along to kind of speed forward a rebuild. But I mean, looking back on it, that may not have been the best move for the team, even though he's been great for them. I don't know how you can really say a lot about Chris Drury, so far, in terms of like a lot of bad, I should say, about Chris Drury. I mean, his trade deadline was really good. I mean, he made moves and got pieces without giving up a lot. So I will say that Drury's done a pretty decent job. It's just, the players that he got at the deadline didn't really give him the results that he wanted, and the team didn't show up. And I blame a lot of that on coaching. I mean, the coach really wasn't the guy, as we found out here too. And I mean, he didn't make things worse, as Mike said, but I'll tell you right now, he didn't do a lot to hurt the team. I think he's done a decent amount to help. I mean, and here's another thing. If Wheeler puts up 50 to 60 points, Drury looks like an absolute genius making that move. What if Gustafsson comes in and puts up 35 to 40 points? Looks like a genius for that. So, I mean, I like what he did this offseason, considering that he didn't have a lot of space to work with cap-wise. He got his guys back. He brought in depth at very cheap prices, and it's considerable depth that'll help. I mean, now you just got to wait for someone like Jacob Trouba after this season. You could probably move him and get rid of that $8 million contract, or at least a good portion of it.
I mean, I'm getting to just show this to you right now. They're ranked 25. Oh, I'm sorry. So it's actually 25th, not 26th. So let me correct that one. But it's questionable on some of these decisions, because one of the ones that they put up there, Phil, they got the Pittsburgh Penguins at 10. You got to be kidding me. And let's get right to it. NHL front office rankings. Here is the Athletics rankings. And they say for the New York Rangers, they have it's a D plus in roster building, a D in cap management, a D minus in draft and development, a C in trading, a C plus in free agency, a D plus in vision, and it's overall a D. Okay, and as far as like the rest of the public goes, they rated the Rangers much better in a lot of ways. Look, if you want to get on drafting and development, absolutely you could get on drafting and development.
Yeah.
You want to don't get me on the roster building. The roster building is it's at least a C. I'm not going to say that it's the most perfect roster. This might be a step backwards to move forwards. And cap management, I think Drury's done pretty good given the cap situations, as you said before. Jacob Trouba is an albatross of a contract. And then you had other contracts. You had to re-sign Mika Zibanejad to a big deal. You had to, they're like political exit polls. Yeah, I got to agree with some of these. And look, as far as vision goes, yeah, I agree with them somewhat on this, on D+, because you don't know what it is. But free agency, they're better than a C+. They didn't overextend. And Everest is saying, I think Drury is in over his head. Gorton didn't help him, but look what Fitzgerald is doing across the river. Fitzgerald had no handcuffs. He had zero handcuffs to deal with. And you know what?
It's not even fair to make that comparison.
And you know what? Tom Fitzgerald, he has 2 number 1 overall picks and a number 2 and like a bunch of top 10 picks. Okay, great. But now, I mean, you look at what he's doing right now. He had the team to build. He didn't have to start with crap contracts, as in Chris Drury having to deal. Once again, we're going to go right back to Jacob Trouba. Now, you mentioned Chris Kreider's contract, Phil. I think actually Kreider might have outperformed that contract. And it's, you could free up $6 million.
What I was saying was that it was questionable to give him that contract at the time, considering that the direction the organization was going in.
That is pretty true, and fair, because they were going to deal him to Colorado before that.
Yes.
So that right there is the New York Rangers, who were having their troubles. I mean, trading the public gave them a better grade than the fans did. And look, the fans have been harsh on him for this. I'll go right back to Patrick Kane last year. They got Patrick Kane, Vladimir Tarasenko. They gave up 1 first-round draft pick. That was it. I'm okay with that. Anthony, did the Athletic get this right? And the Athletic poll, I should say, get this right, not the Athletic.
Why? It was fan-driven. I mean, although there was a public column and then there was a fan column, but so I don't know if it's fair to say did they get it right. It's obvious, though, that the fan bases of both New York teams were pretty harsh on their respective front offices. I mean, the Rangers had D's across the board with a C or 2. So, and the Islanders wasn't so much better. So, I don't know. I think it's just New York sports fans are, they're harsh. They're harsh, and they expect a lot out of you. And, so there it is what it is there.
I mean, Phil, so do you think the grade improves if they do this again next year? Or you look at it a year later, or does it get worse?
It depends. And I think it's actually a good point here from Steven. It comes around, from the previous regime too. I just think that there's a lot of negative energy that carries over. I think people are still judging him based off of the Buchnevich trade as well. That's another thing. People are still harping over that trade. You look on Twitter, there are people who still cry over that trade.
They cry over that trade, but they don't know how much they would pay Buchnevich. How do you fit him under this cap structure? But then they would cry that Lafreniere and Kakko aren't getting any playing time on top of that. So
That's
make up your mind.
sacrifice.
It's got to go one way or another. And the worst part is the New York Rangers haven't made up their mind either.
No, you're right, and that's what I was going to say. It either would have been Lafreniere and Kako, or it would have been Buchnevich. Because where the hell is Lafreniere? Is not even going to play in the top 6 on the left side. More than likely, he's likely going to have to shift to the right if they give him top 6 minutes this year. Because for some reason, this club, even though he's not great at even strength, won't move Chris Kreider down to line 3 at even strength. They won't. They won't do it. And I don't understand why, but they won't do it. But again,
I liked his game with Vinny Trocheck last year.
So did I. I thought that was a good third line. I thought it was good to spread the depth out. But again, that could change next year. I mean, it depends on what Drury does this year. Depends on how far the Rangers go this year. It's almost a sports are what have you done for me lately? Look at the New York Yankees. New York Yankees won 5 titles between 1996 and 2009. No other team, maybe aside from the Boston Red Sox, comes close to that. San Francisco Giants, what did they win? 3 in the early 2010s? 10,
Yeah, 3 of them.
10, 12, and 14.
Yeah, they were in like 10, 12, and 14.
Yeah, 10, 12. It was every other year for those.
They were like the LA Kings of baseball.
Or the Chicago Blackhawks, yeah, where they won those 3 titles. But it's just, what have you done for me lately? And the Rangers getting bounced out of the playoffs by a team that they should have beaten in the New Jersey Devils was a big problem. And a lot of people looked at this regime and said, hey, you know what? They didn't handle the coach right. They didn't handle the players right. They didn't get the right players at the deadline. So now there's a stain on it. That's why. So yes, if things go differently this year, then that's going to go from like a C minus D plus to a B minus A plus.
Well, I mean, we're going to get right to the other team that's getting lambasted right here. But Phil, I'm not going to get too far off topic. There's a certain GM in New York in the Bronx that needs to go. It's about time. It's been 25 years and it's been 14 years since his team was in a World Series. So that's just it on that one. Anthony, we're going to go to the Islanders and going right back to them. The fans much more harsh with this. And the public, all D minuses or Ds and only a C minus on a trade. Think Lou is getting judged unfairly here?
Yeah. Do I have an echo anymore? I saw a comment that said there was a crazy echo on me. Is there a crazy echo?
I don't hear one.
No, you sound a little silenced, though.
Oh, because I played around with it when I saw a comment and I didn't realize it. So is it you could hear me or no?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you fine, yeah.
Oh, all right then. All right. I think it's a matter of the Islander fans. Thanks, Gun 2. You know what? When you look at the big scope of things here with the Islanders and Lou Lamoriello is, he changed the way the organization is viewed in terms of professionalism, how they're run. He's one of the most respected, executives there is. Obviously, when he retires, he's a Hall of Famer, all that. So I think Islander fans need to be a little more grateful for Lou Lamoriello. If you look at it, they missed the playoffs once in his tenure, and that was a COVID year with a new building, new arena. So, when you look at it like that, and then you see the grades he got, you could kind of say, that's unwarranted. It's a little harsh. But then when you dive in deeper, yes, he's made questionable decisions with his trades and whatnot. There's certainly no denying that. Obviously, trading Devon Toews for 2 seconds, that kind of screwed him a little bit. But they, were in a cap situation and he had to move guys. And then, you move Letty the following year. Again, cap space related, but those are 2 good defensemen. So he's had to make some moves that obviously in the wrong run didn't really necessarily pan out, and I get all that, and I agree to it. I mean, hell, I've even questioned Lou Lamoriello before, and it's probably got us in hot water with him and axing a Romanov partnership deal, but in regards to not really talking highly of him. So I get it all, but I do think the D's across the board are a little harsh with all that said. I don't think that Lou Lamoriello was as bad as Islander fans are making him out to be here. And again, kind of, the proof is in the pudding there a little bit. They've been a successful team pretty much all but 1 year of his tenure. So, you know what? Yeah, he has his warts. He's getting older. Do I think, maybe in another year or so, it's time for him to step away, hand the keys off to a younger executive? Yes, absolutely. No doubt about it. But I think some fans got it all wrong here with their grades of him. Um, I think it's just a little harsh. I mean, just think about. I mean, look about the good things he's done. I mean, well, first off, he got Ilya Sorokin over, something that he wasn't probably going to do when Gar Snow was here. Then he signed him to an 8-year extension the first day he's eligible to do it. He re-signed guys like Pulock and Pelech to good deals. He re-signed Brock Nelson. Look how that worked out. So he has done good too. I just think there's a lot of too much negative things from Islander fans here. So that's my take on it. He's certainly not perfect, but I mean D's across the board. I mean I don't agree with that.
Phil?
So he made good moves in terms of getting Sorokin back. I mean, he kind of just stagnated, though. They've gotten progressively worse, this team. I mean, I could see why I don't think it's necessarily unfair, but I also don't think that it's necessarily D. Like, what would you really give them? D+,
I mean, I think
D
C's.
minus?
I think C's. I think C's are fair. Again, when you look at the large scope of it and how they've performed while he's been the general manager, they've been, for the most part, better or worse, a good team that's made the playoffs. So to give him D's across the board, I don't know. I mean, I think that's maybe it's a little bit harsh.
Here's the problem, though. Like I said, like you went from an Eastern Conference finalist, the team that was one win away from being the Stanley Cup Finals, to a team that missed the playoffs. We'll talk about COVID and all that other stuff, but again, you kind of have to do things to prepare for something like that. And you knew what the climate was at that time, and you knew that that was a possibility that you were going to get ravaged. So I get where they're coming from. I wouldn't give them anything more than a D+, to tell you the truth. I mean, if C-, I think, is like a little generous to Lou Lamoriello, considering the fact that he just hasn't done anything to get them to the next level. The Horvat deal, he gave up his best prospect and a first-round pick, and now Horvat doesn't look nearly as good as he looked in Vancouver, which, I mean, everybody who was talking about that deal said that was not sustainable. So, to me, I don't know if he's necessarily ever going to be able to make that deal to bring in that big gun that they need, that elite offensive talent, because he just hasn't shown it in his time here. He hasn't.
I actually think it's a little bit harsh. I like the Sorokin extension a lot because, I mean, 8 years, getting him an 8.25. I'm not so much of a fan of the Mayfield term nor the Engvall term.
Don't like the term for either.
I don't like the term on either one of them. If you want to get on them about drafting and development, okay, that's fine, because the Islanders, I almost said the Rangers, because they haven't done a good job with it too. But the Islanders have been bringing in veterans because they were a team that was close. And right now, all the young guys are here. Anthony, I know you mentioned the Devon Taves trade, and that still haunts the fan base. Devon Taves. Whatever. Bring in Devon Taves, you might as well. But Devon Taves, he's like the Pavel Buchnevich trade. All the fans keep harping about it, but I can't help but ask, all right, what were you going to do with him? Then you have to give up on Noah Dobson. Then there's so many other variables that went into that. You needed to make space, and you had to do it. Sorry, you had to do it. And did he land on his feet? Hell yeah, he landed on his feet. He landed next to one of the best defensemen in the NHL, and now he's going to cash in next summer. More on him in the Bar Talk segment. But
you know what? I absolutely agree with what Phil is saying. He has his points are clearly valid. I guess for me, I just look at it as like, all right, Islander fans, look at A and B. Look at the state of the franchise.
As compared to when Marc Snow was there?
Before, when the regime was Gar Snow and Doug Weight. and then compare it to when Ledecky and Malkin said enough is enough, and they hired Lou Lamoriello, and then he hired Barry Trotz. The organization is night and day from where they were at that point to where they are now. So how could you, given that, how could you really give Lou Lamoriello, D's across the board? Certainly, again, I'm not denying he's made questionable decisions, but again, the New York Islanders are once again viewed as a legitimate organization that runs like a professional organization should. The players respect him. He demands respect out of his players. I mean, everyone needs to come in suits and everything needs to be tip-top shape. He's yes, that's true too. That's absolutely true. But again, it's the fact that Lou Lamoriello, from where they are before he came to where they are now, is night and day. Yes, if you want to talk about his trading and all that stuff, like I said, he has his blemishes, he has his warts. But I mean, we're not talking about the the Buffalo Sabres for the longest time. They were like a complete joke, and it's not like that. It's not a situation like that. So I think he deserves a little bit more credit. But again, I do see why some fans have obviously talked about him in a negative light.
So let's ad-lib then real quick. What is your confidence level in Lou Lamoriello to be able to get that Islander team to the next level in the next 3 or so years?
I mean, I would say, if he were to stay on, obviously, not hand the keys off. I think he has set up a nucleus in place of a team that can obviously has good pieces to compete. Obviously, you have Sorokin holding that window open. Horvat, Barzal, Nelson, Pelech, Pulock. There's good pieces there. So, my faith in him. I mean,
yeah. Like, what about the cap too?
Yeah, obviously the salary cap is a main element of that too. I think this is a guy that's obviously shown he's not, at least not in the offseason, because he hasn't been many trades in the offseason. But in season, he showed that he's not afraid to, make a move. Granted, Pajot, Palmieri didn't turn into home runs, but he's proved that he's ready to take a swing for it when the team is in a position where he thinks they could contend. So I'm confident in that. I know he'll make a trade if the team is playing like they deserve it. If it's going to be a home run, I mean, that's a different story. I would say my faith in him right now is honestly like 60-40, where I do agree with the naysayers, but I also do think he has a track record of being a really good executive. Granted, he's a little old now, but I still think he knows what he's doing. I don't think it's a case of where, not to bring up politics, but I don't think it's a case of like we have Joe Biden here running the New York Islanders and half in the bag. I think he has all his faculties and he knows what he's doing. I don't think he needs to be put out to pasture is basically what I'm saying here.
Wow. But again, I think everybody's kind of poo-pooing what Lou has done. Lou set the tone for this organization and changed it all around. And he kind of spread out the salary cap among everybody. And they take their cue from him. The players aren't given. They went from hemorrhaging goals under Gart Snow and Doug Weight, because let's include both of them, to actually playing defense, playing among the best. They won the Jennings Trophy for the lowest goals against in a season. And that was with Robin Lehner, who was probably the biggest question mark goaltender that was on the market at the time, and Thomas Greiss, a career backup. And they did that. And they were phenomenal. And they were able to go to the conference finals 2 years in a row. You get a little bit of leeway from that. Let's say if this plan doesn't work. Because I think that's where when people go, there's no vision for the future. If it doesn't work this year, I think he does work on getting younger and faster. He just believes that the team is just, they believe they could play playoff hockey in the regular season. The problem is it's hard to do that for 82 games. But guys, I got to run this one back out of here. Just because this is what we're talking about with just opinions, and that's the Pittsburgh Penguins ranked 10th. Are you kidding me? Kyle Dubas is getting this all from reputation from what? One playoff series he's won in his tenure as a GM? roster building, A-. Are you kidding? This is the oldest roster in the NHL.
One of the most poorly constructed rosters in the NHL.
They're going to need wheelchairs. And draft and development? They get a C? Who did they develop?
All right, so the last guy that you can really point to for development for them would be Jake Gensel. And he's way past the point of really citing him as developing.
Maybe Brian Rust.
Brian Rust? I mean, Brian Rust, if you put him on another team, he's not doing what he does in Pittsburgh. I can tell you that right now. We've seen that with Sheary. We've seen that with Kunitz. We've seen that with so many others that those guys benefit from playing with guys like Crosby and Malkin. I mean, you're not going to really talk about Kasperi Kapanen with development, are we?
No. And by the way, while we're at it, Phil, A- in free agency. You overpaid for Ryan Graves.
Yeah, I don't. And what?
Vision? What is the vision of this team?
What is the vision? Is to try to keep Crosby and Malkin Stanley Cup window alive when it's dwindling and they already have a flawed team. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, sorry. This is where and if the fans, and these are the fans that are saying this. You guys are not. You guys got to be kidding me. If you can't, Neil Smith was on with us. Everybody going, what are they doing? It doesn't make sense.
Enough about what Pittsburgh is doing.
It is enough to just make me just grind my teeth just thinking about it. And I don't have a dog in the race. I really don't. I'm not rooting against Pittsburgh.
I'm starting to believe what DP is saying here. I really am. I mean, look, and the Carlson trade, we've talked about this. It's going to age horribly. Will it be good for these next 2 years or so? Sure, possibly. But it's gotten to the point where Pittsburgh has forsaken depth for top-heavy talent. They still didn't address the problem in net. They blamed everything on Tristan Jarry.
Yep.
Everything.
They blamed everything, and then they brought him back.
Shoulders, and they re-signed him to a 5-year deal of over $5 million per. How is the vision in A? How?
That's okay. That's okay, Phil. The Florida Panthers have a vision in A, and they don't have a first-round draft pick until my kids are going to high school. And I don't have one yet, so they traded away all of them. So,
spoiler, Marc doesn't have kids yet. We're not in Back to the Future where we went ahead 30 years ahead in time, and Biff Tannen is somehow getting bullied by Mark's son.
No. Or worse, Futurama, where you're your own grandfather or something like that. But some of these grades.
Horrendous.
Look, you want to put the New Jersey Devils as the best grade? Go right ahead. You want to say Vegas because they won the Stanley Cup? A-. Go right ahead. The Devils were 6th. The Avalanche, I got some questions there. I don't know exactly what they're doing, and now their salary cap has come to roost. Dallas Stars look great for right now, but it's pretty soon where all those bridge deals are going to come through. The Lightning, right now they're at 3. Great job by Julian Brisebois, but that's coming to a head right now. And the Canes at 2 and the Devils at 1. I don't have any problems with those. But won't Marc be 90 at 30 years?
I was waiting for you to see it.
See, you know what? That's what happens when I start scrolling through the rest of it, and then I miss out.
Oh, that's great.
Oh boy,
yeah. I just don't understand any of these. These grades are ridiculous. You're telling me that. I mean, the only thing I can say why the fans have Pittsburgh as high is because they went out and they got Erik Karlsson and they didn't have to give up a lot to get him. Okay, great. You've forsaken your future to add another aging star who is terribly injury prone and has missed God knows how much time over the last 7 to 8 years. Good for you. You're still not winning the Stanley Cup with that.
And maybe that they replaced Jeff Petrie with Erik Karlsson. So between Karlsson and Chris Letang, They can get one defenseman to play a power play the entire season. I guess that's what they're trying to figure out because both those guys are injury prone.
Yeah, Letang is another one. He's even older than Carlson is.
And also take a guy whose your strength is, and match him with another guy whose strength. They're not stopping anybody on the blue line?
The only thing I will disagree with here with the Penguins and the Rangers in the early 2000s, and I like the comparison. I like where you're going with this, DP, but Sidney Crosby is still an elite level talent.
That is true.
The Rangers never had that elite level talent in the early 2000s. Lindros was supposed to be that after the Mark Smith concussion in December of 2001 in San Jose. The rest of his season was good, but he wasn't the same after that.
Nope.
So I get where you're going, but I think the Penguins have enough star power to make the playoffs, but they're going to get waxed. They're going to get waxed.
They're going to get absolutely trucked in the first round if they make the playoffs, which I don't think they're making. I'm not kicking the Islanders out for them. You take the team that.
04, yes.
Yeah, but that was too little, too late.
Yeah, he got there right before their mass exodus of talent at the deadline. I mean, Sather had to make that trade. Yager at 50% retained for Anson Carter straight up. How do you not make that trade?
Yeah, exactly. And there wasn't a Rico Fata to throw in like there was the year before. The only guy that they kind of regret losing in those
Michael Samuelson.
That was the one I was going to say. Yeah. Because the only other guy you want to talk about in the last couple of years was Marek Zidlicki, but
Zidlicki was the Dunham trade. Yep.
Yeah, and it was him and Klocek went, I believe, in that trade.
Yes.
And the Rangers needed a goalie, and Dunham was just good enough.
Klocek was never the same after the ACL injury, though. He promising before that, and he was never the same after.
Yeah, it looked like he was going to be wrecking some people. Trying to kill a couple more minutes, just waiting for Anthony to get back, guys. But it's Phil, let's look at a couple other grades that are in here.
Yeah, I totally agree with Pete there. New Jersey, Carolina. I think the Rangers would blow the brakes off of them in a series. I think the Rangers are going to have space to make moves at the deadline. I'm telling you that right now. They're going to go in. They're going to get somebody that's really going to help them out. And I think they're going to get a guy that's going to play a high-intensity two-way game that's really going to help that even strength. And that's going to be a problem for teams.
I think the Rangers are going to be closer to a line in weeds. They're just waiting to strike this year. They're not going to challenge for the division. I think they're going to be a lock for third place, even though I said beer on it last week. I don't think they're going to fall to a wild card. Look at what Florida did. Florida fell all the way back to the 8th spot, and they were the hardest out in the playoffs. And I said the Bruins are going to beat them in 6, but it wasn't going to be an easy series. Florida ends up upsetting them, but still. Were there any surprises that you saw on this list?
I didn't get to see the whole list, so if you want to scroll through it.
All right, since we got a minute to kill, you got Devils at 1.
I get it. I get why everybody's high on Tom Fitzgerald, but he kind of got handed the keys to a Ferrari. He hasn't done anything wrong with it. He's made some good contracts, extensions, and some trades. So, okay, I get it. I understand it, even though I don't think it's all completely his work. Shiro laid the groundwork there.
Get back to me when Dawson Mercer's contract comes up.
I agree. I think that's going to be a test, but I get why the fans are high on him. I get why the public would look at him. But I think it's easy to do that when you step into that situation where you don't have handcuffs at all.
Yeah. So you have that one. Dallas Stars, they were in a good situation. But again, they got their bridge deals that are going for a little bit longer. Again, a lot of these organizations, because they hit on their drafts.
I'm with Pete on this one. Tampa Bay is way too high. I don't like what they've done. They've lost a lot of their talent. They continue to lose talent every year. They lost Palat last year. They lost Killorn this year. They lost Eric Cole. They kept guys that they shouldn't have kept.
Ian Cole.
What did I say? Oh, okay.
You said Eric Cole. It's Ian Cole.
Wow. That's a bad one.
That's all right. They're not related.
Yeah, I know they're not related, thankfully. But Tanner Jeannot, that trade was freaking terrible. That was awful. You gave up that much for a guy whose best year was a 20-goal, 40-point rookie year. So yeah.
By the way, how do you have the Vegas Golden Knights with a C- in drafting and developing? This is literally a team that had one player that they developed.
Yeah, I was about to say I don't understand how they can get a C- in drafting and developing when they traded away all of their picks.
Yeah, except for if you want to say Riley Smith and Jonathan Marchessault, the Misfits, Carlson.
But that's not drafting or developing. That's just trading.
Yeah, I mean Riley Smith and Marchessault were already players. You want to say they developed William Carlson? That's a different story.
At least mine was an actual NHL player's name. I was thinking about Carolina because I was talking to Pete apparently. So
yeah. All right, so you have Florida right here at 7. We're gonna go up to the Buffalo Sabres. I gotta hand this to Kevin Adams. I think he's done a great job. All jokes aside on him from what he had to deal with the first few years. But I actually think that there is positivity in that fan base. Seattle Kraken, Ron Francis, another good job. I got to agree with some of these scores. We're going to get to number 10 again.
I think Francis should actually be higher than that. I think he's done a really good job with Seattle. I think another thing with it, I think the vision should probably be higher. If you ask me, I think that should be an A. Cap management, great. You know, he passed on a lot of higher priced players that he could have taken in the expansion draft, like Tarasenko and so on. He passed on a lot of those guys to get lesser named players, and he's done really good with them. Like everybody, I remember because we were like Vladimir Tarasenko, Vince Dunn over Tarasenko, and now Vince Dunn has a 60-point season. Do I think Vince Dunn will replicate that? Probably not.
Probably not. No.
Put up 60 points as a defenseman in today's day and age, but I mean, roster building has to be, I would say, higher than it be. I would say an A- for Francis. I mean, he has gotten lucky to the point where a lot of the players that he's brought in, like Vince Dunn and like Jared McCann, guys that you didn't expect to have 60-point season or a 40-goal season. He's lucky that those guys have produced the way that they have this year. So I get why it's not an A+ or even an A, but an A- would still be pretty fair for roster building for Kraken. I gotta have Francis in my top 5. I don't know.
And again, how much of this has to do with the fact that Dave Haxtell, he's putting together a great second act, Philk.
Yeah, I mean, and that's another thing. That would to me that goes the coaching for me should fall into vision. And
yes,
or a combination of vision and drafting and developing, because that's what your coach is brought in for. So for me, I like that. I do like Dumoulin replacing Soucy. I get that Dumoulin is not a top pairing guy anymore, but neither was Soucy. And if you don't get somebody to replace Soucy, like that's not nearly as good as Dumoulin. Maybe that team isn't as good, but Dumoulin can probably play on a second pairing role. So I do like the Dumoulin ad there. I do agree with letting Sprong go though.
If they could find another Daniel Sprong and bring him in, different story.
Then you're looking at Ron Francis as a genius. Then we're like, okay, we don't question Ron Francis. He knows what he's doing.
Like you want to talk about this, the Minnesota Wild number 11. So you have cap management. Look, I go with both sides on this. The fans giving them a B+ and it's a C because you can't help but say the cap gymnastics.
How is cap management a B+ for Minnesota when they have $14 million in dead cap between two players that aren't playing for them?
That was what I was going to get at. Because they're doing a great job getting around that $14 million of dead cap space, but they also did it to themselves. That's what. So Phil answered that before I could say it right there, everybody.
I get it.
And Brock Faber looks to be pretty good for them, Phil.
Yeah, I was very high on him when he was with the U.S. junior team. So yeah, I definitely I get that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I know Cliff Fletcher was there for a bit and kind of screwed things up, and that's why he's not there anymore. But I mean,
well, don't worry, he didn't screw up the Philadelphia Flyers at all. So, oh, sorry, that's Chuck Fletcher. Sorry, I mean, wrong one. Detroit Red Wings at 12. You're looking at them. Then it's LA Kings. LA Kings, I like. You can't say roster building when the goalies are completely just sieves. That's not going to work. But of a lot of the rest of these totals, I'm okay with. Montreal Canadiens, I like their direction that they're going in.
I said the wrong Fletcher there. That's on me. I just realized I said Cliff, not Chuck.
Oh, you said so I was right. It was Chuck Fletcher?
Yeah.
Oh. This is what it feels like to be vindicated. Can I ask you a question, Phil? Does the Blackhawks change, in your opinion, if Bedard's not there? In cap management, you're tied to Seth Jones forever right now.
Yeah, but they don't really have anything to worry about otherwise, cap-wise. So, I mean, you can't really... Yeah, I don't like that Seth Jones contract. I think it's terrible, but I don't think that... Yeah, I could definitely see that dropping. So...
If there was no Bedard. Yeah.
Yeah,
we're going to talk more about these guys later.
But, like, it's like, at the same time... their prospect system really isn't like great if you don't look at this year's draft. It wasn't great beforehand, so I get this year's draft influence a lot. So I'll just attribute that to the "what have you done for me lately" syndrome.
Mm-hmm. Ottawa Senators right here at 17. We're going to talk more about the Arizona Coyotes. Pat Verbeek at 18. I think he's done a sensational job this year.
Verbeek, I like what he's doing there. He's going in the right direction. He probably should be higher. I don't think I don't think he should be that. Go back up to the Anaheim one. I want to see it.
You got it.
Yeah, roster building for me, I would give them probably a C plus, maybe a B minus. You know what? I'll give them a C. I'll give them a C because there are definitely holes in what they have, but they're a young team and they definitely need a little more muscle and some more defensive help. Stay there.
Oh, sorry.
Drafting and developing, they should be an A. They tell you right now, you add Leo Carlson to Mason McTavish, Trevor Zegers, Troy Terry, Jamie Drysdale. That core is insane. Lucas Dostal, if John Gibson wasn't there, Lucas Dostal would probably be starting, and he'd be a pretty good starter. They're very high on him, and for very good reason. Trading, they haven't really done a whole lot trade-wise. I mean, if you want to look at the Raquel trade and say that they didn't get enough back, I guess. I don't agree that he wildly overpaid for Killorn and Gudas.
I think he just overpaid.
I think he overpaid to the extent that any general manager has to overpay for a free agent. I wildly overpaid? No. Killorn had a big year, and he was going to get that from anyone that signed him, no matter what anyone thinks. Because when you have a 20, almost a 30 goal and a 60-plus point season, you're going to get banked, even though you're really like a 40, maybe a 50-point player. So, contract here.
That in the middle of going through the entire list, I realized some of that's behind a paywall, so they might have a problem with that. Hopefully not the case. So
I have subscription.
Yeah, so do I. So, I mean, but not all of our viewers have that.
Well, I mean, it's technically on our.
I guess that's true too.
Yeah.
Again, by the way, everybody, Big Apple Hockey Trucker hats are available. Check them out. Click the link below, and yeah, you can see the one that the lovely Phil is wearing right there. We're actually gonna speed up. We'll do some bar talk right now. We'll do our message from DraftKings, and hopefully Anthony will be right back with us in a moment. Hockey fans light the lamp this winter with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. New customers can bet just $5 pregame money line on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. If that wasn't enough excitement, you can turn small bets into bigger payouts with same-game parlays. Combine multiple bets like which team will win, how many goals will be scored, and more for your shot at an even bigger payout. Download the DraftKings Sports app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet $5 on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. Only at the DraftKings Sportsbook with code THPN.
Shot. This is the easiest I've ever to answer.
I'm gonna say beer. I can't even begin to describe.
I'm actually going to go crazy. I'm going to buy everybody around on this one. Welcome back, everybody, to Big Apple Hockey's Bar Talk, where we're gauging our confidence on NHL topics based on our choice of drink. You're so confident you're going to buy everybody around. So, I'll just have a beer and, I just need a shot. Just give me a shot. And more to the layup talk. Oh, come on, well, sometimes the layups are needed. That's where it is. So, and of course, Bar Talk is always sponsored by Drizly. Why go to the liquor store? We can have somebody pick it up for you. Beers, White Claws, whatever you want to do, wine, or of course, liquor. Have them bring the whiskey to you because sometimes you just need somebody else to drop the drinks off. Click the link below, make an account. Phil, I'm going to do the Rangers one first. I had the Islanders one slated and ready to go, but I want to see Anthony here to see the reaction when I give it, because I'm going to start it off. But the last time in an 80-game season where he played a full season, Blake Wheeler scored under 60 points. It was 2010 and 11. He was a member of the Thrashers and the Bruins back then. So that's to tell you how long ago it was for him. The Rangers should expect 60 points out of Blake Wheeler this season.
I'm going to say beer just because I don't know where he's going to be used. Is he going to be a top six winger? Is he going to be the third line winger? It just depends on where he is. And you know what? If Blake Wheeler ends up being a top six winger and he storms back and has like a 65, 70-point season and starts shutting people up, then you know what? That's great for the Rangers. That means their right-wing depth is going to be decent. But again, I don't know where he's going to be used. So I'm just going to go with beer.
Yeah, I got to go beer too, because I got to wonder where he's being used, because it does sound like a lot of things going around Rangers talk is that they're going to be handing over the keys to Lafreniere and Kakko. If that happens, it means less ice time for Blake Wheeler, and then that might hurt. But if he ends up being the right wing on that power play, taking over for Ryan Strome / Vinny Trocheck, and he's the guy on the right wing boards, and Kreider's the guy in the middle or the bumper. Well, no, Kreider should be the guy in front of the net, not the bumper.
Yeah, or I watched your video on those projections, and like you said, they look lazy. They
went incredibly lazy. We're going to get to one of the ones that they mentioned.
Oof.
That's unbelievable. Chris Kreider was going to get what? They said on there Chris Kreider was going to get 38 points.
37 points is stupid.
He had 37 goals last year. Like, do you guys watch the games? Or are they just let me guess, is Jack Hughes getting 200 points then? Like, because usually when you make stupid numbers
if
one way,
he made it, then yes, then the Rangers players are all going to suck, and the Devils players are all going to be great because Wyshynski's nothing but a troll.
Yeah, come on. I mean, look, you can't be a troll about everything. I mean, I at least think, look, I'm hammering the Erik Karlsson trade. I at least still think he's putting up 60 points. So,
without a doubt.
Yeah, on that team. Moving on. Speaking about some of the Devils players, we did a Take Your Pick segment. We're going to be doing that again in a little bit. But we had Take Your Pick, and it was who was going to get more goals next year, Mika Zibanejad or Brock Nelson. And a third name to throw in there, Timo Meier. He had 40 goals last year. Mika Zibanejad had 39. Nelson had 36. Timo Meier will score more goals than both Brock Nelson and Mika Zibanejad.
I'm going to say Beer because I could see it, but I'm not entirely sure. I mean, he's more of a goal scorer than he's a playmaker, and he's going to be playing with some pretty good playmakers. So he's not going to have the defensive responsibilities of Nelson or Zibanejad. But if you ask me who has the better shot, I'm putting Zibanejad, Nelson, and then Meier. So I think that I think Zibanejad, if anything, is the best goal scorer of them. But I could see Timo Meier finishing with more just because I think he's going to be more of a shoot-first guy out of any of the three.
I gotta agree with that one. I think it's going to be Zibanejad. Sorry, as now my mouse just stopped working. I think it's going to be an interesting situation for all these guys. If Zibanejad's one-timer is on, forget it.
Yeah,
you're looking at 45 to 50.
I would say 40 to 45. I mean, I don't think he's going to have 50 again just because that 2020 season, we got to remember, he had a 5-goal game and he had several different lengthy goal-scoring streaks. So I definitely think he could hit 40 plus if his one-timer is on again and he's not moved from that spot.
And again, that spot is a great spot for him. And the funny thing is, in that season, we were talking about it just now, or a couple weeks ago, he played the bumper. He didn't play the point where Panarin was. He was in the bumper. So it's gonna that's
a combination of both that year.
Yeah. So I do like Timo Meier at a full season with the Devils. So no, I'm gonna say round. He does it. I think Mika Zibanejad can give him quite a test. If Brock Nelson scores 40, the Islanders are a much better team than they were last year. I'll tell you that.
If their other players produce, yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking about a guy that had a less than productive season last year, Johnny Gaudreau. He had 21 goals, 53 assists, 74 points, and in Columbus in his first season. This is a whole different Columbus team that they're going to be having over there. Johnny Gaudreau will be the highest scoring left wing in the Metropolitan Division.
Shot. I don't see him finishing higher in scoring than Artemi Panarin or Brad Marchand. I still think Marchand is going to score like 90 points. I just think it's a matter of whether or not he gets the center help that he needs to have Boston be competitive. But I definitely don't see him finishing ahead of either of those two.
Yeah, I gotta say no. There's no way. So I'm gonna go shot with that as well. Fucking it's hard to see that he's gonna be ahead of Artemi Panarin. And does he beat out Jesper Bratt? Because I think Bratt's the left side over there.
I think he's going to score more than Jesper Bratt.
Yeah, that's.
I don't think Jesper Bratt is going to. Oh, the Atlantic.
No, yeah.
Yeah, I said well, still Panarin.
Still Panarin. Panarin's still going to have a great season. But
I thought he meant East, but well, whatever.
Yeah, no, well, still in the East, it's still like a good amount of left wings. I forgot what actually Stützle is getting listed as. So
he's a weird one. They list him as technically as left wing and center.
yeah, but now they're listing him, I think, only as one thing now in fantasy. So it's going to be interesting on that. Philk, the Bruins have 2 goaltenders that are signed through the end of this year. Jeremy Swayman to 2024. He's going to be an RFA. Linus Ullmark, the defending Vezina Trophy winner, signed till next year as a UFA. The Bruins should use either one of those goaltenders, Ullmark or Swayman, as a trade chip to get a top 6 center.
You saw the NHL Network video from Mike Rupp, didn't you?
Actually, that wasn't me. This is one of Anthony's topics.
Okay, so then Anthony saw this. Yeah. So Anthony definitely saw what Mike Rupp was saying on NHL Network, because that's what Mike Rupp suggested, is that they should trade one of those 2 goaltenders. I do agree with it. I don't think that Winnipeg will make that move unless they had a deal lined up for Connor Hellebuck, because Hellebuck's out. If you ask me, Hellebuck's out. Here's the question. You go and deal for Jeremy Swayman or you deal for Linus Ullmark. You know, is Ullmark going to stay in Winnipeg if they deal for him? I mean, I would imagine that Boston would rather deal Ullmark and then just keep Swayman because of, contractual stages. But I don't think that Jeremy Swayman is someone that Boston wants to deal. Again, I mean, if they can get Mark Scheifele and Boston could keep Mark Scheifele, maybe that changes things. But again, you now you got to worry about Connor Hellebuck in Winnipeg. But could Swayman play behind Hellebuck before Hellebuck's dealt? I guess that gives Winnipeg some leverage. So maybe that's the route for them to take.
It's oh, by the way, what was your answer on that? Was that a beer or a shot?
I'm going to go round, actually. I think they should do it. I think they definitely should do that. It's a matter of whether or not that'll actually happen.
My problem is this, Phil. I'm going to actually go round on this as well. It's which goaltender do you think, if I said this to you last year, so let's take that season completely out of the mix right now. I asked you which one would you go with, Ullmark or Swayman, at the start of last year. Who would you pick?
At the start of last year, probably Ullmark, just because Swayman was even more unproven last year.
Right. Do you think Swayman is kind of proven right now? And if you're telling me a 24-year-old that's an RFA versus I think I had Ullmark as he's close to 30. And granted, you could say Ullmark's coming into his prime. He's a late bloomer. I think the stock is as high as it's ever going to be on Ullmark. Go get a good center for him right now.
Yeah, I just wonder if other teams take a look at that season and say, hey, this guy might be a one-year wonder. Does anybody remember Jim Carrey and how good he was in 1996 and then how bad he was after?
Yep.
That happens.
Yep.
Roman Turek, 2000, 40-game winner, Vezina candidate. What did he do after that?
Yep.
Roman Cechmanek, Vezina candidate in 2000 and 2003, fell off the map after that.
Yep. I bet nobody remembers him playing with the LA Kings. So that's another thing.
Because he was dog duty there.
Yep. And I think he was out of the league by the time the lockout came.
Yeah.
Speaking about guys that are going to get a substantial pay raise. First off, you look at the Devon Taves. I said it right, everybody. Phil's number 11th defenseman in the league right now. And he's a UFA in 2024. The Avalanche won't be able to afford Devon Taves next season. I'm going to start this one, Phil. Nope. They ain't going to be able to afford him. I'm buying around on it. And I got news. I think I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say this. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right. Hopefully I am, because I like to always be right. But this time they have to trade him. You got to move on from him. You got Bowen Byram that's playing behind him. That's the reason. That's the way you stay relevant. You can't just keep paying everybody. You have to keep recycling in young talent and keeping the star players on your roster. So I think they're going to have to move him.
Yeah, I think he's going to command an upwards of close to what Makar is getting. And another team will likely give him that. I have trouble seeing Colorado keeping him. I think they're going to be far worse off without him unless they can get somebody that can come close to that level. Byram will get to that point, I think, sooner than later, but they're losing considerable depth by losing him. So, yeah, I get it. I understand it. I think they should deal him, especially if they struggle. And no, I don't think he'll be a Ranger because I don't think they'll have the cap space to do it.
What? All right, so we'll go around for that, but I'm going to go with, again, what are you smoking, Core? There's no chance. If he's a New York Ranger, then I'm a New York Ranger.
They already have enough cap problems. There's no way they're getting Devon Toews.
Yeah, how are they going to get Devon Toews and Adam Fox and Keandre Miller all under the cap? And then eventually Braden Schneider is going to need more money too, especially if he continues his upward trajectory. And granted, it was a little bit more of a plateau last year, but still. Phil, a guy that I'm high on every single year. And we know Anthony is, and I know you are. Kirill Kaprizov. 40 goals, 35 assists, 75 points in 67 games. He was my MVP before the season. Unfortunately, some guy named McDavid just kept scoring. Kirill Kaprizov with the highest scoring forward in the Central Division.
Wow. Okay. Ooh. I'm going to say Beer because there is a possibility that it happens. He's going to have one guy he's really going to have to contend with, and that's Nathan MacKinnon. Nathan MacKinnon is one of the three best players in the league probably right now. Maybe four if you want to stretch that. But Nathan MacKinnon is the guy that I would have to worry about in that scoring race in that division. Mikko Rantanen? No, not Mikko Rantanen. I'm sorry, but Mikko Rantanen is not the guy to take Kirill Kaprizov's spot at number 2. I can tell you that right now. I like Mikko Rantanen. I think he's very good, underrated player. But Kirill Kaprizov already has a 100-point season under his belt.
Mikko's got 105 last year.
Yeah, he got 105 last year, but Kirill Kaprizov did it with less talent around him.
Mm. Yeah. So, and Phil, I gotta agree. It's just gonna be a Beer for me. But I am gonna cite Mikko Rantanen as a guy that's gonna get more points than him. Here's the thing: Kirill's got to be healthy. And it wasn't his fault last year. I think it was a collision that cost him 18 games.
Yeah,
16 games.
It was the player like falling on top of him.
Yeah, and everybody held their breath. And Minnesota was real good at that time. There is just not as much talent on the Wild as there is in the Avalanche top 6. You gotta go that he's not gonna be number 1. But it could happen. It could happen. Because and again, look, I as I said before, Bill Guerin's done a great job managing that team, even though he put themselves in cap hell with those penalties. A guy that did a great job, I think, right now with his team, Bill Armstrong. Bill Armstrong's extended by the Coyotes today. I didn't see how many years. Did you see how many years it was, Phil?
Was it 4?
Could be 4. Bill Armstrong has the Coyotes ready to ascend in the standings. I'm gonna go. You know what? I'm gonna buy around on this. I have this weird feeling that Coyotes are gonna be the team that everybody's gonna underestimate this year, and they're gonna be a lot better than what they think. Like everyone is gonna get surprised by them. So it's just. I think their roster makeup is real good. I love Cooley coming in. They're young, they're hungry. Now you throw in Jason Zucker, who's really a good player. And I know, by the way, I always hear him pronounced Zucker, not Zucker, but
It's Zucker.
yeah, it's Zucker.
That's how I've heard it.
Okay,
Jason
so
Zucker.
yeah, feel like we're sometimes arguing like how to pronounce.
It's almost like semantics, basically.
But no, I'm starting to love the Coyotes a lot more going into that division, and I think that Mullet Arena, they're an above 500 team. They get to close to 500 on the road, they might be a playoff team.
How do you not look at this team's roster and not get excited for the future? Rounds all around here. Keller, only 25 years old. Schmaltz, if he stays healthy, I know he's 27, but if he stays healthy, he's a good player. You brought in Zucker, 31 years old. Lawson Krause is young, can give you some physicality and some jam, 26 years old. He's got some skill and some jam and some grit, toughness. He can fight. Matthias Michele was up for the Calder. I mean, you got Barrett Hayton, who looks like he's finally turning the corner. Then you talked about, Logan Cooley, but you didn't even talk about Dylan Gunther.
Mm-hmm.
Dylan Gunther, I think he's going to be one of this team's 3 best players in the future. You added their draft picks this year were a little questionable. I thought they reached for Daniil Butt, but I can't help but liking what they already have at the NHL level in terms of relatively young talent and a combination of that and their pipeline. And it looks really promising going forward, because if Logan Cooley pans out to be the player that I think he's going to be, that team is going to be an absolute nightmare in that division going forward.
Yeah, and I think they definitely can be. So, and we got Anthony back. So, that they could be a real team that could start making some noise. I'm not going to go crazy and say that they're going to go do what Seattle did last year, because that is a little bit crazy to admit that. But this team, I think they're poised to start making some moves and not being a bottom feeder. Anthony, what do you think? Bill Armstrong's got the Coyotes ready to ascend in the standings?
Yeah, sorry about that. First day of school, my mother-in-law popped in to talk to Ella to see how it went. So, yeah, but
totally fine, Anthony.
No, yeah, the Coyotes made a lot of good moves. I mean, from Dumba to Drizly to Zucker, they had a lot of good pieces in their lineup. Kerfoot's another veteran. When you talk about some of the better young players they have, like Clayton Keller, Logan, don't forget Logan Cooley signed. He's going to be pro. Hayden's starting to kind of rind into his own. And then Jordan Schmaltz, who's been hurt in and out of the lineup, but when he's in the lineup, he produces. So, yeah, the Coyotes have a good thing going right now. So we'll see if they can eventually get over the hump, but they're going to be significantly better than they were last year.
Sorry, I had to answer a message. I'm having some plumbing problems in my apartment.
He's getting cameos while we're
yeah.
Doing cameos actually while it's happened. But
you look like you're like totally in the dark though, Ant.
Yeah, Anthony's hitting the lights on that right now.
There we go.
All right.
Yeah, basically he just said a lot of what I just said. So
yeah, I mean this, and the funny part is we haven't even mentioned the defenseman who's going to be up in a few years. Simashev,
yeah, I thought he was a bit of a reach where they picked him.
I thought so too. I thought Matvei Michkov was the guy they should get.
Was going there. If you told me that Michkov was going there, you know what though? Honestly, what that tells me is that they wanted Reinbacher. They wanted Reinbacher, and they wanted a defenseman, and they thought that he was going to be available. Because if you would have added Reinbacher to that team, man, that looked real good. I like Reinbacher. I think he's going to be a real good player.
And I actually think that Bill Armstrong said that defensemen like the ones like Simashev don't grow on trees. Go get them.
Yeah, I mean, he's talented. Don't get me wrong. It's just I just think that he was a little bit of a reach there. So we'll see what happens with him, though.
So, Mike, did you do the?
No, I was trying to. I was trying to wait for you for that. Make sure you're here for take your pick.
All right.
All right.
Yeah. I
So
gotta get the little one for bed too, school. So,
no. Hey, Anthony, look, you're the daddy, so I'm not gonna know how it is to be doing all that and still managing to put up a podcast that everybody loves. By the way, everybody, thanks for coming in and saying the good words over at Croakers. You got to juggle all these things. I mean, folks juggling his 9-to-5 job, and I'm all over the place as well. So, you're the last person that needs to ever have to explain it. But guys, thank you very much. The Big Apple Hockey Bar Talk. We're engaging our topics, our confidence on NHL topics based on our choice of drink. See, there you go. You didn't stutter right there. Let's do a little take your pick with some of our impulsive reactions.
Calm down. Get a hold of yourself.
Doctor, you're one on the phone.
Chill. Simmer down now.
I'm freaking out!
I always love it whenever it gets simmered down now. So, welcome back, everybody. We're doing some impulsive reactions. Just take your pick. We're just going to go with what our guts say right away as we're going to fire out some of these scenarios. Phil, I'm starting with you. Who is going to score more points this year? Steven Stamkos or Austin Matthews?
Settle down. Pitter patter. I'm going Matthews. Matthews had a down year last year. I think he's going to score close to 100 points again. I like Stamkos. I just think that Stamkos is trending that way, even though he had a 100-point year. Crazy to think that he would be trending down after that, but he's getting older. Matthews is in his peak years. Go on, Matthews.
Anthony.
Yeah, you know what? As you see here, only separated by 1 point. But I'm gonna go Matthews. Obviously, he's younger. I think Stamkos still a great hockey player. I think he had 2 years ago at over 100 points. Last year, 80-something, 86 or so, still really good. But I think Matthews is obviously the better player. And again, age is on his side. I think he's gonna have more points than Stamkos.
Let's make it a hat trick, guys. There's the 3 hats, and it's going to be Austin Matthews because the first career 100-point season for Steven Stamkos came 2 years ago. Hard to believe. I mean, his first career 100-point season was only 2 years ago. I love the way he's producing, and he's still producing at a high level. But no, I'm gonna go with that. It's gonna be Austin Matthews. I think last year was a little bit more of a blip. Contract is behind him. He's gonna be starting to try to live up to that contract, because sometimes contract years will do that with guys, where it'll give them a nice little kick in the ass. Speaking about which, Anthony, here you go. This one's for you. Who is going to score more goals this year? Jake Gensel or Chris Kreider?
So as you see here, Kreider's got him a little bit. I think there's no question that Gensel's the more, in terms of scoring with a good wrist shot. Gensel, has Kreider in that direction, but Kreider, is much better in front of the net. He's more physical, gets to the net, has an easier time, uses his size doing it. Gensel's, more perimeter, using that wrist shot, snapshot to score. If Gensel plays with Crosby and really clicks, Gensel has the potential to score, 40. He has already in his career.
Twice.
But I'm going to go, yes. I'm going to go Kreider. I'm going to keep the trend going. I think Kreider edges him by a little bit. Gensel can also be sometimes a little bit injury prone. As you know, he's going to be out the beginning of the season with an injury. So obviously I think that could play into it. So I'm going to go Kreider. I'm going to go Kreider here and stick with that.
Phil, what do you think?
I'm actually going to go Gensel. Kreider, they both had 36 exactly last year. So that's kind of crazy to think about. But I just think that Gensel has a big advantage playing with still someone who's still one of the top 5 best playmakers in the league, hands down, in Sidney Crosby. He's still just an amazing player that's going to score 90 or so points a year at this point. So for me, it's Gensel.
I am the biggest Chris Kreider fanboy that you could possibly find, guys.
We all know that.
I got his jersey from the first summer that he was a New York Ranger. I think I wrote an article like 10 years ago. Along came a Kreider after his first playoff game-winning goal. That was his second goal of that playoffs that he scored. The first one, I believe, gave the Rangers the lead versus the Ottawa Senators, or put them up 3-1. I think it might have been. That being said, guys, this is Jake Gensel. All day is Jake Gensel. He is going to be going into a contract year next year. He puts up 45 to 50 goals, and he's the guy that works best with Sidney Crosby. He is going to get a big payday, so much so that I guess Kyle Dubas will re-sign him to way too much money and be named for the Jim Gregory Award for some reason. I don't know. Or at least according to the fans. I can't understand that one. But, and again, music's part of the problem with him is that Chris Kreider plays away from the puck. It's not that he plays with the puck. So bounces don't go your way. Now, by the way, Mika Zibanejad's success could be a problem. If Mika Zibanejad's hitting the back of the net, Chris Kreider has nothing to deflect. So that hurts him too. All right. This one should have been the one for Anthony. I should have moved the other one down, and I should have had to answer this one. But who is going to have more assists this year, Matt Barzal or Nico Hischier? And I'm going to go Matt Barzal on this one, guys. I have a feeling Matt Barzal is going to be back. You remember last year when he was basically a point per game with assists without scoring a goal? And then he plays the Rangers and scores his first goal of the season, and then it's like all she wrote on that. I think Barzal is going to get closer back to being an offensive force this year. If they put him on the wing, I think the better part for him is center. He's too good of a skater, so I'm going to go with that one. Anthony, I'm going to go right back to you for this one.
You know, this is really tough. As you can see here, it's close. Hischier edged him out last year, but he played in 80 or 81 games. Barzal missed a lot, so I think if he was healthy, it might have been a different story. So, you know what? I'm gonna go Barzal here, but I think the margins might be really thin. Hischier might not playing with Timo Meier. Barzal probably play with Horvat and Lee on the other side. 2 goal scorers. Passing the puck is Barzal's forte. He's much more of a passer than he is a shooter. He's creative. He's a good playmaker. But I mean, Hischier is really good too. Like I said, this is close, but I'm just gonna go with Barzal just because I think as is he's already just as good of a playmaker as Nico Hischier is, not even a little bit better. So I'll go with Barzal here.
Bulk, which one do you think?
I think Matt Barzal is actually the decidedly better playmaker. For me, it comes down to line mates, and that's why I'm going to give it to Hischier. Hischier's probably going to be playing with Timo Meier and Dawson Mercer, and that's a pretty damn good line. That's going to be their second line. It's not even their first line. That's their second line. So that's going to allow Jack Hughes to play with Jesper Bratt and Tyler Toffoli, likely. And that's just going to be a disgusting top 6. Not only that, but Jersey overall has more offensive talent in their forward group. I just think that their power play is also going to be lethal, and that's probably Hischier is going to be on power play 1 in Jersey. So not only that, but Hischier is probably on penalty kill 1 in Jersey too. He might end up playing more minutes than Barzal. And
with Dawson Mercer, who is pretty lethal short-handed.
Yeah, so I don't think it's like I said. I think Matt Barzal is the better pure playmaker. I just think that he's got less around him to work with, and that's where he sure gets the edge for me.
Can I just throw this one out there? Can you imagine a line of Jesper Bratt, Nico Hischier, and Tyler Toffoli? I think you would have top lines squirming at the idea of playing against those three because they would lock them down and then they'd lock them in their own end. Like, that would be a very nasty two-way line. Any thoughts?
Toffoli's not a burner, so he doesn't really
Good
fit.
defensive player, though, is what I'm getting.
He's a decent defensive player. He's not great. He's not gonna hurt you though either. I mean, he played for Daryl Sutter 2 different locations and seems to thrive under him. So I will say that, but I mean, it could be a pretty good line.
Just throwing that out there, Anthony.
Yeah, I mean, it's all three good players. Toffoli, not really the fastest skater, but could still, hold his own defensively. So yeah, solid line.
All right. Well, like I said, I just figured I'd throw that one out there. All right, guys. Phil, going to go back to you. Who is going to score more goals this season? Brock Besser, 41 goals the last 2 years, or Andrew Mangiapane, 52 goals? Phil, take your pick.
Wow. This one's probably the toughest one for me that I've seen yet. Wow. For me, I wonder about Mangiapane bouncing back and scoring like 30-plus goals again. I'm not sure if it's really possible. I wouldn't rule it out because Sutter's gone now, and I think Huberdeau is going to be unleashed. But Besser just can never stay healthy. The better natural goal scorer is Besser by far, easily. But for me, it comes down to health, and it comes down to consistency. And Mangiapane is the guy that's going to give you it every night. He's the type of guy that you watch him, and he elevates everybody else's compete level because he's just honey badger. I don't give a you-know-what, and goes and will dig in the trenches, the boards, down low, dirty areas. It's all Andrew Mangiapane's game. So I'm going to go with Mangiapane, but like you said before with that playmaking margin, Anthony, very slim in the goal-scoring margin here, I think.
Anthony, what do you think?
So I think one of the reasons that you see the difference here between Mangiapane and Besser is one, Besser's inability to stay healthy, and then also the fact that Mangiapane scored that career high 35 goals 2 years ago. I think it's closer than those numbers show. But you know what? I'm going to stick with Mangiapane too. Besser, he had that really great rookie year, challenged Matt Barzal for the Calder. Since I really don't think he's been the same player. He really needs to stay healthy, put it together consistently. I think Mangiapane, while he may not score 35 goals, I think he has the ability to score, 28, 29, 30. Whereas Besser right now, he has the capability of doing it, but he needs to prove again that he could get to that level. So I'll say Mangiapane.
I got to go Mangiapane as well. There's an expression in baseball, speed doesn't slump. Well, guys that go to the net tend to not slump. Mangiapane's going to go to the net more than Besser will. Besser, he had his first season, 29 goals. And I thought this kid was just going to be, I thought he was like Patrick Laine light with how good his shot was. And then it was 26 goals. And then a pair of seasons at 23. Other than that, like Phil said, he can't stay healthy. You can't get consistency out of him. So I got to go Mangiapane because at least he was trending in that direction. All right, Anthony, who will score more points this season? Devon Taves or Miro Heiskanen?
How close this one is. You know what? I'm going to go with Devon Taves. I think Devon Taves is, just as important to the Avalanche as I think a guy like Makar is. I know it sounds crazy, but I think Devon Taves is really that good defensively. Remember that, when he compared to Makar, Devon Taves defends better, and he also has really good skating ability. Not to love Makar, but important is he can do both. I like his all-around game. So far, in Colorado, he's been a 50-plus point defenseman. So I think for him, that's a baseline. I think he can maybe score a little bit more. But like I said, this is really, really close. You could certainly make the case for Miro Heiskanen too, who was phenomenal last year. But I'm just kind of going with my gut here, quick off the cuff, so I'll stick with Devon Toews. But if it's Heiskanen, I wouldn't be surprised at all. He's fabulous.
Phil, who do you think?
This is a really, really tough one because Devon Toews, for me, could probably score 70-plus points if all things go right. Miro Heiskanen did that last year. But being somebody who follows the Stars somewhat closely, I will say that Miro Heiskanen has been working on his shot this offseason. And for a guy that scored 70 points last year and is, for me, one of the true elite defensemen in the league, that's a scary thought. I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go Miro Heiskanen because I just think everything is pointing up with him. I don't know if it's pointing as highly up for Taves. And you always got to – Makar is the lion's share of the guy. He's the guy that a lot of the offense and the power play runs through, not Taves. So for me, I got to go Heiskanen here.
I am absolutely kind of stuck at the moment. I'm going Heiskanen because what I'm trying to figure out is which guy is going to be more motivated. There's the reports coming out about how Heiskanen really wants to win a Norris Trophy this year.
Yes.
So that's one of the reports that's coming out right now. Taves is in a contract year. So which one is going to motivate the other one to perform better? I don't know. I have to go Heiskanen because I think the ceiling is higher on Heiskanen and he's going to have more responsibilities. Taves is the one that's probably going to be expected to play a little bit more defensively and let Makar go do his thing. So Makar might get some more points out of that. But it's not to say that Devon Toews is a slouch. He is fit with what Colorado does like a glove.
I have him ranked just outside of my top 10.
Yeah. So, that tells you something. You have a almost a defense pairing in your top 10. Just outside. Your top 11. So that says something. So I am going to go Miro Heiskanen because I'm scared, guys. 11 goals, 62 assists, 73 points, a plus 12. And this kid has not really found that Norris Trophy level that we're expecting him to. If he's got another gear, that's going to be scary for the rest of the NHL. So, and lastly, which highly regarded rookie goaltender will have a better season? Devin Levi? It is Devin Levi, I know that. Or Yaroslav Askarov. Guys, everybody is always I've heard the hype for Askarov all the way going into the moment he got drafted. I think it's going to be Devin Levi. I think Buffalo's gonna give him a little bit more support, and I think he's gonna be more impressive because he's gonna have more of a workload. Askarov, I think, is gonna be sheltered by UC Soros. They might bring him along a little bit more slowly. So even though, because you always heard about Askarov, he was the Russian Carey Price, the other way around. I'm sorry about that one, but you wonder if he's going to be able to live up to that right now. And also, by the way, Carey Price had Yaroslav Halak in that net, so he didn't exactly get that net right away. So I think Devin Levi is potentially going to take the Buffalo net. Phil, what do you think?
This is the easiest one all day. It's Levi, and I don't think it's really close. I think I look at Nashville's team and I say, what excites me about that team? Ryan O'Reilly, Philip Forsberg. What else is there? Their defense on paper looks great, but they weren't really that great this year. UC Saros is the number one guy there, and he's one of the top, I would say, 5 goaltenders in the league. So I don't understand I don't think they're in the same stratosphere right now, Levi and Askarov.
Anthony.
I'm gonna go Levi too. I think he'll probably play more because obviously Nashville, UC Saros is definitely the guy. However, Nashville's a better defensive team than Buffalo. I could see Askarov actually end up having a better, like say, save percentage and just less games played than Levi. But I think overall, I think Levi will have the better year. But I still think there's Askarov can rise to some of the hype that he got. I mean, he hasn't barely how many games he played in the NHL? Like very
Like
few.
copy.
So I think eventually, I think he could be one of the better goalies in the league. I just think he's not really gonna get much of a chance this year playing behind Saros. One game, yeah. So he's predominantly been in the American Hockey League. But I think this year for sure he's going to be the backup there. But like I said, this is Levi's year. But with a caveat though, like I said, I could see scenario where Askarov has like a little bit of a higher save percentage just because he plays in front of a better team defensively.
Is Askarov going to be doing more push-ups with the net?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah. No, I if I'm the coach, I'm going, yeah, that's great. That's great. Don't ever do that again. Because I can just imagine that falling off out of his glove hand, and the next thing you know, he's out for 4 weeks. So, all right. Guys, thank you very much for joining us for the Big Apple Hockey's Impulsive Reactions. If you have some questions now, we're going to do some Q&A before we do some Puckdoku. And I've got a bit of a situation at my other apartment, because this is usually where I record everything, but I got a situation going on over there. I'm going to have to break off sooner than later.
Same. I got to leave soon.
Yeah. So let's start with does anybody have any questions you want to go with right now?
Go right to
Askarov.
Puckdoku.
Yeah. We'll go right to the Puckdoku then.
We'll kind of do Puckdoku, and then we'll filter in some questions while we're doing that.
Yeah. All right. This was a good one today, guys. I found it to be kind of pretty interesting. We have right here. Let me get the banners off Anthony's face so that way we can see that. All right. So, what did you guys have for some of these?
All right. So, for the 3 teams played in its career and the Blackhawks, I had Brian Noonan, former Ranger.
So did I.
There's Tyler Arneson.
Tyler Arneson's a good one. That's a name that not many will remember played for the Rangers, but they'll remember him with the Blackhawks.
I don't remember Tyler Arneson at all.
Yeah, it was the early 2010s with the Rangers. I had Chris King for Rangers and Blackhawks.
Okay.
I had Rod Buskus for Chicago and Pittsburgh. I had Glenn Murray for Pittsburgh and LA.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and that one was surprisingly very low for what he was. Mark Hardy for Rangers LA.
That's a great one. I had Eric Lacroix.
That's a real good one, too. I had Jimmy Carson for LA for 3 teams played.
I had the first guy to play for the Rangers, Devils, and Islanders, Pat Conacher.
Pat Conacher, yeah.
I had Doug Crossman for 3 teams played for LA.
That's a good one. 1987 Canada Cup gold medalist. For Pittsburgh, Arizona, I had Mike Stapleton. For Rangers, Arizona, I had Norm McIver. And then for 3 teams and Arizona, I had Gerald Diduck.
So did I. I had Gerald Diduck, too.
I went Damon Langkow for the 3 teams.
So you're doing good, Mark. Did you know you're dating Josephine the plumber?
What? Josephine the plumber?
Yeah, Jay Lewis. So Jay, the goal with these is to find somebody who's not as well known.
You want to go as little popularity as possible, and And by the way, this is the hardest working, most attractive plumber that there is on the planet. So I just want to say that one.
So
I think
for,
Sean Avery's a little bit too high.
Maria,
Why don't you
I'm
start
expecting you to dress up as either Mario or Luigi now for Halloween. Holding you to
Why
it.
don't you why don't you start with Arizona? Three teams played career.
All right.
You could do. You could do.
Duran Quint.
Yeah, you could do that. You could do that. You could also do Bob Essenza.
I would
Well-
do Duran Quint. Duran Quint's going to be a more obscure name. I'm telling
Tim
you right now.
Chevelday.
Shovel Day would be another one, but that's a more well-known name. I'm telling you, Duran Quint would be a really good one.
You do it.
All right.
He's an Islander too, Anthony.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try
It was.
Duran Quint in the private window, and let's see how that goes. 0.0. So we
Yeah,
got to go
so-
Duran
Hold you.
Quint.
Hold you, baby. Hold is gonna be
I
more-
think our two choices were pretty good on those, Anthony. I'll check those in a minute. 3 teams played for the LA Kings.
So for the Kings, I get go Mark Fitzpatrick. He played for the Kings his first year in the league. Only 17 games. I don't think many people remember Mark Fitzpatrick as a LA King.
See, I actually
Corey Millen would be a good one.
Check Fitzpatrick on the private.
I already did, Anthony, and Mark Fitzpatrick wins.
What is 0.0?
Flawless victory.
Yeah.
Oh,
0.0.
shit.
3 teams played for the Blackhawks.
Steve Hines is actually a good one from Jay Lewis. That would 3 teams for Blackhawks.
Relatively
Trent
easy.
Trent Yanni.
Trent Yanni is 0.0. All right.
Yeah.
We are-
Yeah, 2 for fucking 2, baby. Let's go. Oh, man.
All right. Okay. A Ranger and a Coyote. Now, the one I used today was Nigel Dawes.
So I used Boris Mironov.
Yeah, Mironov was. I used Norm McIver, but we can't use that.
We can't use Peter Pruka. He's 1%.
So we
about-
have to be under 1% then. Okay.
What about Brad Isbister?
Brad Isbister would be a good one. I would.
Brad
agree with
Isbister. I love Brad Isbister. Let's try that one.
that. That's going to be a good one.
It's because I'll tell you what, another guy would be Derek Morris.
Derek Morris will be more well known. I'm telling you right now. It's Isbister.
Brad Isbister, 0.1%. So we're going to go Brad Isbister.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. All right.
I mean, I wonder how Hellberg and Nielsen, Anders Hellberg and Ulf Nielsen would have been on that. Okay, LA and the Rangers.
He didn't play at the NHL level for the Jets.
Oh, that's right.
They were WHA, so that's not going to count. They'd be incorrect.
All right.
I
I got 0.1% for Shane Churla.
like Shane Churla. That would be a good one. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think you're gonna. Otherwise, Nathan Lafayette would be another one.
Steve Weeks. Steve Weeks was another
Steve
good one.
Weeks would be a good
See-
one.
Let's go with Churla on this one. We'll go Churla
Yeah, because we know
because it's 0.1%.
Zero.
We're still a uniqueness of zero under there.
Yeah, I just checked. Steve Weeks was 0.12, so either one you couldn't have gotten wrong.
Okay.
I
Rangers-
like it when we can't lose, boys. All right.
and
Rangers, Blackhawks. We had Brian Noonan that was right there.
Brad Brown.
Brad Brown.
Brad Brown easily.
I used Stefan Quintal, who was 0.1.
And Hollywood, yeah, but Brad Brown, I'm telling you right now, will give you probably 0.0, 0.1.
Anthony, do you have any like relatives that like spit at the ground when they hear somebody's name? Like, because I know it's a sort of Italian thing to do. That's the way I feel every single time. Every single time I hear Stefan Quintal's name.
No,
Oh.
you know who pisses me off? Sylvain Lefebvre. That was
Ugh.
No, Mark,
Oh.
I I use
Point one,
I use
told you.
Quintal. I use Quintal. I told you Brad
Oh,
Brown.
all right.
Phil was saying.
I was
use
all
saying
right.
Quintal.
Brown, dude. Oh.
Oh, sorry. Well, Brad Brown was. By the way, guys, they're both 0.1%, so it's not the end of the world. All right, let's fill in Blackhawks. Now for this one right here, I used Matthew Barnaby today. You guys.
I used Greg Johnson, who was
I used Ron
0.0.
Busquets, as I said before.
All right.
So Pittsburgh and
Blackhawks and
Chicago.
Penguins.
Yeah, but Phil, the way Quintal said, "Oh, I'll give back the money if I can go back to Montreal." Shut the hell up. Come back and play a better season. That's anybody that wimps their way out. I just want to just slap them.
Blackhawks and Penguins.
Taylor Pyatt was not a bad one, Jay. Ian LaPerriere would have been good for LA. I think that would have been a good one too.
Yeah, I think
I'll check how much that would have been worth.
All right.
What about Kevin Miller?
Yeah, I think he might be more
Kevin
like
Miller.
from
Oh, wait, hold on. I was thinking Blackhawks Rangers. So you're not doing that. You're doing the.
We're doing the Chicago
Penguins
side,
Black.
yeah.
You know what? He played for the Penguins too. Kevin Miller.
Yeah, he was on their team in '96.
Yeah.
So Kevin Miller. Yeah, Kevin Miller would be a good one.
Kevin Miller.
By the way, Ian LaPerriere would have been 0.3%.
Okay.
So we're gonna do. You want to try Kevin Miller?
Try
Kevin Miller.
I always remember Kevin Miller as a Detroit Red Wing, and boys,
Blue.
we're going Kevin Miller on this.
I remember as a blue mostly.
Are you guys ready for this?
And
Kevin Miller, boom.
Nice.
0.0.
Oh,
Yeah. So
There you
far we're at a 0.2 so far. So how about that?
Let's see here.
I
LA
used
and
Rob
Pittsburgh.
Brown. Yeah, I used Rob Brown for LA and Pittsburgh.
I would go with Rob Brown.
No, I used him.
Actually, hold
used
on. Rob Brown, Robert Lang is too much. That they'll know Robert Lang.
Well, I tried Marty McSorley. He's 1%. Because after all, he's the guy that they traded Tomas Sandstrom for.
Tomas Sandstrom would actually be a really good one here, I think.
I used Tomas Sandstrom today, so we're gonna
How
have to think.
much was it?
He was Tomas Sandstrom was. I think he was a 1%er.
1%. Okay.
So yeah, him and McSorley tied at 1.
Mm-hmm.
While we're thinking about that, what do you guys got for Pittsburgh
Glenn Murray,
versus?
but I think
I used
Glenn
Glenn
might
Murray.
be like a 1. Oh, you used
I
Glenn
used
Murray.
Glenn Murray. It was 0.3%.
All right.
How about Rob Scuderi?
That'll be a more well-known one. He's recent. You got to remember recency bias.
Yeah, and two Stanley Cups. I just wondering.
I think Jay Lewis might have one here in JF LaRue.
Yeah, Scuderi was going to be a 5%er.
Or
Hold on,
No.
let me go get that LaRue one.
no, wait, hold on. I know, hold on, because I don't think he. No, he played Chicago, but I don't think he played Pittsburgh. I want to verify that, but
Well, what was the who was the big guy that played for Pittsburgh in the mid 90s?
The big guy? You got to be a little more specific than that.
96. I want to say it was LaRue too.
no.
Is it Francois LaRue? Was that who it was?
No, it's actually not correct. I
Joseph-
checked because I was curious.
And Josef Stumple never played for the Penguins.
No.
Yeah, I think some of these guys are looking at the color icons on Hockey Reference and they're getting confused.
Yeah, purple, no good.
No, it's the black and yellow that they're getting confused on because they're thinking because Josef Stumple never played for Pittsburgh. I can tell you that right now. I think he might be thinking of Joseph Baranek because he played for Pittsburgh, I think.
What was that guy's name? That guy's gonna kill me now that I can't remember his name. Yeah, it was Francois Leroux. No, yeah. And he played for the Senators, the Penguins, and then the Avalanche. He started with the Oilers. So that is not it.
I don't think Morozov played for the Kings, dude.
Morozov never played for the Kings.
No, he just played for the Penguins.
Yeah. It's the only team he ever played for.
I don't know where he's getting Morozov of the Kings from.
Let's see. Alexei Morozov?
Yeah, that's definitely not the Kings.
Yeah, no, it's not the Kings. I'm looking at JJ Daniel, who's seen the play for everybody except for the two teams we have left. Drake Barakowski? Is that?
No.
No.
Pittsburgh and L.A. Pittsburgh and L.A.
Well, how about this? Wait, Phil, where'd you use Norm McIver?
I used him for Rangers and Arizona.
Because he's available for Arizona and Pittsburgh.
Yeah. I would use him there then because I don't think anybody's going to remember him there. They don't remember him. They don't remember him in general.
I used
use McIver there. I would use McIver there. That's probably going to give you nothing. That's actually
yep. 0.01.
Yeah.
So let me go back. Let's put him in right now. On the right one. Hey, you know the name I would go with is that Norm McIver. He's a real good name to have on there.
Yeah. So L.A. and Pittsburgh. Damn, L.A. and Pittsburgh.
Jim Peck. Wow.
No, I don't think he played for L.A.
I do think he might have. Pete's just like us. He's remembering Sega Genesis hockey.
Yeah, oh no, he did. He played for LA for a very brief time in '94. Pete's right.
I would do
yep.
Jim Peck.
Jim Peck. Let's go check that one more time. Guys, if we can get to a 0% uniqueness, that's a new one. Jim Peck, 0.3%.
Nice.
All right, here we go. So we're gonna be 0.
All right.
So
I gotta sign off and get ready for bedtime for school. I'll see you boys later. Sorry that I
I'm
got
gonna
pulled
get
away.
going too. We're gonna probably just gonna wrap this up here.
There we
I
go.
got pulled away a bunch of times today.
No, it's okay, Anthony. I mean, it's what life has to do. Especially, we did have that mini guest appearance from Ella, and yeah, so we saw her wave. And it's funny because I was cutting the Ray Ferraro video where she made her first actual appearance on Big Apple Hockey.
Yeah.
And even Ray was saying, let her in.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'll see you guys later.
All right. Take it easy, Anthony. Have a good one.
Later.
And we're gonna start the goodbye right now. Because also just to let you guys know, some of the shirts have come in and they'll be sent out right now. Jeremy, if you're still on, I'll be sending yours out on Friday. And we got a couple of prototype Big Apple Hockey jerseys coming in. I will share them with you. I did not do all of them like this. I tried one of Steven's suggestions, and I think I have another one you guys are going to like. So we're going to check those out. Phil, you got somewhere to go, and I've got a plumbing situation to go tend to myself with the most darling plumber in the world. And hopefully not as bad of a situation as I thought it was. So Phil, by the way, I still have not finished Tears of the Kingdom, and I'm probably not going to for at least maybe another week. I think I want to get more Koroks but and finish the side missions first. So, still want to do that because I hear a great. I saw your tweet about how it's an epic ending.
Yes, definitely an epic ending. You will like it.
Yeah. So, season's coming up, guys. We're the next week we do this. We're gonna be only a couple days away from preseason games, so can't wait for that. Who's gonna have a better season, Phil? The Jets or the Giants?
I'm going to say the Jets just because I think they're the most complete team in the NFL on paper. I think their receiving core is maybe the one area that they may need to add something to, but their defense is great, their secondary is great, front seven's good. Their offensive line, if Becton stays healthy, is one of the better ones in the league. You obviously got the quarterback now. They've got two phenomenal running backs in Dalvin Cook and Breece Hall. Robert Saleh is a pretty good coach. I think they're just the only teams they got to worry about, if you ask me, in the AFC are the Chiefs and the Bills. Giants are going to fight for their division. I think their defense is going to be one of the better defenses in the league. I think their offensive line, even with John Michael Schmitz, who I think is going to be an absolute stud for them at center, I think needs some improvement. The wide receiver core, if Jalen Hyatt can come in and make a big impact, that's going to make them a hell of a lot better of a team. So I do think the Giants definitely need some help in the secondary, though. I think safety help, they might need a little bit of help. I love Xavier McKinney. I just wonder where the safety help is after that. Cordell Flott, maybe, at corner. Their quarterback situation, I like Deontay Banks a lot. I think that was a steal of a pick. But again, pass rushing, they add Isaiah Simmons for nothing. That was a steal. So I do think the Giants are going to have a really good year. I think the Giants could be anywhere from a 9 to 10 win team. I think the Jets could be a 12+ win team.
I said the Jets 11-6 because they are in a tough division.
Yeah.
I wonder if Miami is going to be any challenge for them. In all honesty, I've already told my friend Chris. I'm paying him $60.
Their defense is really not great either, if you ask me. But
yeah, and Jalen Ramsey's out until December. And Tua is going to be completely ineffective. So, especially because look, we've already been through. I'm not a Tua guy, but he's not going to be healthy. So just get ready to move on from him. Maybe he kicks the health bug, maybe finally. But, the queen of the ball should be the king. So, I would ask about other teams, but none of us really care about basketball. The Knicks, hopefully the Knicks have a good season.
No, I like the Knicks. Yeah, I think they're going to be a good team this year. So.
Yeah, the Nets got to bottom out again. Awesome. What a great system basketball has. Feels like yesterday when the Nets were no good. All right. Guys, everybody, thank you very much. We're going to upload the audio podcast for us right now on this. Look for more shorts, and we got a lot more coming. Even in the archives, they're all coming out right now, so get ready for that. Thank you all. Have a great night, and look for us to possibly be doing this on Tuesday nights. So get ready for that. We'll see you soon.
Take care.